Welcome to the pre-show.
Welcome to the pre-show.
Look what I got today.
Ah, is that an early copy?
No, I don't know. No, I think this is I don't know. It smells new. And look what you got. Ta-da!
Hey!
There you go.
Very nice.
Yeah. See? I think about you.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Not often.
No. But sometimes, you're right. Sometimes.
What is it you're holding up? Because this is an audio podcast, not just a video podcast.
Oh, shoot. Totally forgot. We have an early copy of Massey Hall, written by our friend David McPherson, forward by guest to be, not on today's show, Jan Arden, who is hilarious, by the way, on Twitter. She just drops F-bombs on anyone who gets in her way. But anyways, Massey Hall is reopening shortly in Toronto. And it is a history, a look back at one of the iconic music venues in Canada. Yep.
We've had him on previously to talk about the legendary Horseshoe Tavern.
The legendary Horseshoe Tavern.
And we will have him on again to talk about Massey Hall.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to that venue. What shows do we have already booked there? Blackie?
I think that's the only one I'm going to from that venue. Yeah. Blackie and the Rodeo Kings.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We need to pull the trifecta off on that one at some point and get Colin Linden, because so far we've had Tom Wilson, Stephen Fearing, and then we're going to go for Colin. Yep.
There you go. Absolutely. So looking forward to that. I have a question for you, Greg. As we await our guest, John Orpheus, how did you get into music?
How did I get into music?
How did you end up being in a band? What led to you getting interested in playing music and then getting into how did that begin? How did that start?
It was probably in grade 3.
Grade 3. You were 8 years old.
Playing Winthrop in The Sound of Music, which we've talked about before with past guest Josie Dye. She was also in The Sound of Music.
Oh, that's right. That's Sound of Music.
Oh, I blew that. Music Man.
Yeah.
Yes, Music Man.
That's right. We did talk about on that on the inaugural show.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so I think it was doing that at 8 years old or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And realizing, wow, this stage is pretty cool. This is pretty ego gratifying.
And then you left it. You left music. So what are you doing now for your ego?
What am I doing now for my ego?
You are fighting
against fights with trolls on Twitter. Is that where you're gonna go?
Yeah. I was gonna go there.
Did you see that one last night? That was a good one.
What happened last night? It doesn't matter.
Nothing to do with music.
Okay.
It has to do with backing up friends when trolls come at them because of the color of their skin.
Somebody came after me?
No.
You?
Friends Suleiman and Mohammed.
Oh, the guy still is coming after people?
He came after the two of them, this troll. And so then I just I jumped in and this guy followed up and he called me a woke doorman. Oh, now we have a woke doorman.
What was I doing? What day was it?
I will play interference. I will play interference any given day with an asshole like you. As long as you're looking over here. White guy to white guy. Look over here. I'm good with it. Come at me.
Let's So you liked the stage when you were 8 years old in grade 3.
Yeah.
What was the name of your first band, or what instrument did you gravitate to first?
Piano, for sure.
Was it piano because you had a piano at home, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, my first instrument, my first love of an instrument was trumpet.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that a grade school instrument that you had to play?
It was our neighbor. I think his name was Don Johnson, which is funny, but anyway. He was a professional jazz trumpetist.
Okay.
Trumpet player.
Trumpeter?
And and I was always fascinated when he would play when I was little.
Oh, okay.
And I actually sucked my thumb longer than I should have as a kid.
And that impacted your ability to play the trumpet?
No, actually, he said to me, if you stop sucking your thumb, I will let you play my trumpet.
Oh.
And
so you stopped.
I was very young at the time. And I was like, all right, cool. So that was probably, that would have been before piano, if I think about it, for sure. That was long before piano.
All right.
Yeah. That's weird.
Okay.
You're taking me down memory lane here.
And your first band was The Life? Or The Stray Cats? What was the name of that band?
No.
Not The Life.
You're thinking of Plastic Dolls. Nope.
Border Plastic Dolls.
International Boundaries. Plastic Dolls. No. My first made up band with my friends playing me playing piano and my bud Chris playing bass and Dave playing guitar. I can't remember what we called ourselves, but it was like one of those like Scion or just some stupid anyway, you did the letters and the big sort of like slashes like an AC/DC or a Kiss kind of thing.
Okay, cool. So you shared
really, go ahead.
You shared a Discog page with me this week or last week of a cassette you guys had put out.
That was The Life.
With the Life. So do you have rumors have been running wild in the past that you still have swag, The Life swag?
I do have Life
lying
swag.
around.
T-shirts, I have tapes, I have.
Dude, okay, so all I ask, my birthday is November the 18th.
Okay.
All that I ask is for a T-shirt.
I think I have T-shirts left.
The Life T-shirt. Sure. And if all the members of The Life can sign the insert of the cassette of the this part here.
Yeah, I can yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I want this signed.
Yeah.
That's Greg, I've never asked you for anything.
I don't know if I can get them signed by them. I can get you a cassette for sure.
All right.
Do you have a cassette player?
I have a cassette player right down here.
I can't even listen to my own music.
I purchased it during the pandemic. I bought a cassette player with AM FM radio and a CD so that I could play some of these CDs that you gave to me, that you gifted me.
Yep.
And some cassettes that I still have, especially this Led Zeppelin collection that's right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, audio podcast, video for people on YouTube. They'll know
cassettes. These are audio cassettes that I showed. We'll have like description. We'll have description as people are listening.
Yeah. Sure. I think I have a T-shirt for you, maybe, and I know I have a cassette for you.
All right.
There are 2 cassettes.
I'll take 2. Perfect.
There are 2 cassettes.
2 cassettes.
Yes.
All right. And
do you know how I figured out that when I saw that page that I sent you? Do you know why? It's because
Rave Drool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Twitter, Tyler.
Rave Drool on Twitter.
who's going to be a future guest of ours to talk about a specific important year in music that we've talked about last week.
We're waiting for either Rave or Drool to get back to me on a specific date.
Okay. And it's funny because Tyler put out the note, he tweeted something like, before I joined Welcome to the Music podcast, what album from 1991 would you like to, Canadian album, of course, because he's focused on Canadian music. Yeah. What Canadian album from 1991 would you like discussed? And a whole bunch of people named a bunch of bands, and somebody mentioned Harum Scarum's first album, Harum Scarum.
Yeah.
And I said, well, good call. I said, I've known the boys for many, many years, shared a stage with them numerous times. And that's what it dawned on me. Actually, Darren, the drummer from Harum Scarum, who's now singer for Jakey Lee's for Black Sabbath's band, he produced our
nice
independent cassette.
Nice. Awesome. We're going to try to get that Independent the Life cassette to possibly outsell Bare Naked Ladies Yellow cassette. Let's try to do something.
Yeah.
We'll just hang out outside concert venues.
Hang out on Queen Street.
Queen Street.
Outside of the Bamboo. Rest in peace.
We'll sell it for like $5 a piece, or a loony, $2.
Sure.
Right? It would just be cash flow right now.
Yeah. Like sort of early 90s rock, funk.
Oh, it's coming back. It's coming back. And that was the pre-show brought to you by David McPherson's Massey Hall.
The new book.
Published
Can't wait
by
to rip into that.
Dundurn Press. Greg, you don't rip books. Okay? You read them. So please, no ripping.
Thanks,
you're welcome. And that's the pre-show.
Hi, the following podcast is brought to you by Radical Road Brewery, the best craft beer in the heart of Leslieville. Find them at 1177 Queen Street East. That's Radical Road Brewery.
I feel like we should do like a get the Buddha breath happening. Yo, what's up? My name's John Orpheus, aka Antonio Michael Downing. I am a Afro pop singer, a Trini troubadour, a maker of music, a performer of rhymes, a singer of songs, and I'm also a writer of books. My book SAGA Boy just came out in January, and the companion album SAGA King just came out in August. Welcome to the music.
Welcome. It is so great to have you on with us, John. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Boom, shakalak. I'm so excited. Yo, let's just bring all the things, man. I'm excited. Let's just go all the way there. I'm ready.
So, John, in your introduction, you mentioned just about everything that you do.
But, right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. But Greg and I, on occasion, are known to do some research.
Right.
And I went on a deep dive into your comedy career.
Okay. There's some things. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Was that just an experiment to figure some stuff out to try on different things on stage? That was really interesting.
I mean, I was like, here's what happened, right? Me and my homegirl, Madonna, we used to just hang out, and we loved doing impromptu hangs. And I was working in the financial district, switching suits, funding my underground career by taking the racist power structure's money and repurposing it. Reparations, as I like to call it. And she was like, yo, let's meet. And I was like, well, I'm right here on York. So why don't we meet at I did some research. I said, let's meet at Yuck Yucks right there on Richmond. I'm not sure if it's still there. And so we go to Yuck Yucks. There's like 6 comics, you know, guys working in LA, guys working for, like, they're pros. And they all doing their thing. We're enjoying the show. And then right before the last guy comes on, the host says, oh, you know, we got a young comic that just wants to try out some new material. Please be kind to them. Here he is. And then Russell Peters comes on. And Russell Peters just killed it. And I got like this master class of comedy from like just starting out professional to I just played the ACC for my last show. And I realized that to be a comedian, you needed 3 things. And first of all, none of them was being funny, because basically we're all funny. If you don't make your friends laugh, then I don't know why they're hanging out with you. So like being funny is a natural human thing. Here are the 3 things. You need to be able to write, because you got to write your jokes, and you got to structure it, and you got to clean it. Your lines got to be tight. You need to be comfortable on stage. Like when a whole bunch of people are looking at you, you need to be super comfortable. And thirdly, you need to have a kind of chip on your shoulder where you want people's approval, but you want it on your terms. And there's only certain people that are like that. People either pretend they don't want approval, or they say they want it, but they're willing to do anything to get it. But only certain people are like that. And I realized that night that I had all 3 of those things in spades. And I thought, and so I kind of like mentally cracked the comedy code. And I was like, I've never done this, but I'm going to try it. So I took the Second City Stand Up 101. And basically from my first show, I was just killing people. And you know, I never had time, because you got to be up all hours. Like music can work with the day job game, but stand-up comedy, you got to be up. Like the dedicated stand-up comedian is going to 6 open mic nights in one night. Like they're starting at 8:30 and they're going to bed at 2. And that's got to be a couple nights a week. And I was just like, yo, let me just stick to what I know. But it's a lot of fun. And in fact, one of my classmates, Garrett Joyce, wrote an article in Maclean's about my graduating class, because there were a couple of stars in my class. And so your research didn't catch that, I can tell by the looks of it. So yeah, there's an article by Garrett Joyce about that graduating class, and our graduating show was a knockout. So yeah, that's it. That's what's up. I realized in it that I'd inadvertently been training separately with all the stand-up comedy skills, and so I just wanted to do it, and I learned a lot. It tightened my writing. It tightened my stage presence. It really honed in, like when you're on stage doing banter, it really honed my shit in. And I really understood what it was like to you have to be so clear, so concise, so on point in your delivery and your writing that it totally tightened everything else I was doing. But ultimately, I just never had enough time. She's a jealous girlfriend. Comedy game. Anyway, that's
sorry, I was gonna say it's funny you say that, because back when I played way back, Jeff, who was the lead singer of the band, and myself, we practiced improv. We went to Second City and studied. We practiced improv, and it was for the live show. But it's also invariably somebody's guitar string is going to break or something, and you got to fill that space. And we would use that improv to fill that space. So I hear you. I mean, it really does help the show. What I wanted to touch on was, Kareem mentioned, or you mentioned at the beginning of the different things, and Kareem mentioned about your foray into comedy, transformation. And even when I read the book, transformation seems to be a big thing in your life. From, I think it was I think a play you did in school and a teacher that changed your name, I think, when you moved to Canada.
Right.
And like the various personas that you've had over the years. What is it about transformation to you?
Well, that's a huge question. And first of all, thank you for reading the book. I appreciate when anyone takes their attention and gives it to that. It's such a personal story, and it's really beautiful to me that people can connect with my very personal story. In terms of the question, transformation, how to tackle it. There's a lot of layers to that, Greg. I'll say number one, in Trinidad, we have a thing called playing mass. And in Trinidad, where that started was at one time when the French Revolution happened, all the French aristocrats in the Caribbean ran to the Spanish-speaking island because the Spanish king had said, "Hey, they're killing the Catholic. We support the French monarchy, so all you monarchists come live on our islands." And so Trinidad became dominated by French, like Marie Antoinette masquerade ball throwing kind of things. So they would throw their masquerade, and the enslaved people wouldn't be allowed to go. So we started doing our own mass. And the mass became not a place to hide, but a place where for 3 days out of the year, you had control of your own body and you could run wild and run amok. And so it was not a place to hide as we typically think of a mask. It was a place to reveal yourself. So that's the first layer. Then the second layer was just being a kid who, when I was 11, as you know, everything I knew about life was suddenly gone. Like I literally went from living in a rainforest to living in a blizzard, like within like hours, like whiplash. And everything was gone. My grandmother was gone. My brother was gone. The culture, the food, everything I thought, like everything you think you would associate with home, whether it's your family, the street you live on, the school you went to, the music you listen to, all of those things that make up an identity was ripped away from me. And I was still here. And so what it taught me at a really young age was that, dog, none of that is actually who you are. Who you are is actually something that's independent of all of those things, because all of those things can change and you can still be here. Learn that lesson at a young age. The other layer, I think, is because I was always a combination of going to 6 different high schools, which I illuminate in the book.
Yep.
That's a lot. That's more high schools than years in high school. And also being Black, and also being an immigrant, and also being a nerdy kid. And I was a Black kid that didn't fit into the Black kid. Like, how do I know what Use Your Illusion is, where 99% of Black musicians don't even know what that is? It's because I was listening, like, I was a Black kid that didn't fit in. I was an immigrant. I was a lot of things that were outsider. Right. And so I think when you're always changing the scene you're in, and when you're always being the outsider, then for me, it was always like, well, who am I going to be at this new school? And this is a chance for me to be someone better at this school. Or I don't like these things about how I was treated at my other school. So guess what? I'm going to drop the nerdy sweaters. I'm gonna start playing basketball. Like, so every school change was a chance for me to reinvent myself. And I think, I hear this from a lot of people of color. I hear this from a lot of queer folks who have a really strong sense of how they present themselves, and they're always playing with it. It's because how you present yourself, sometimes could put you in danger. Sometimes it could just make you an outcast. Sometimes it could just make you like you were penalized if you didn't present yourself well. And I think what that makes you is hyper aware of a truth. And this is the core layer and the most important layer. All human beings are always changing ourselves. You think about it. if you're going to work, you dress away, you talk away, you act away. If you're going out for a night on the town, you might not even recognize that person that you see at the office, right? Because they're going to dress a different way, act a different way. See them at a family gathering or a christening at a church. We're always changing our clothes and becoming someone else. And I think my upbringing just made me hyper aware of it. And I was always just kind of like, oh, that's just something you play with. That's not something that's fixed, because who I am is somewhere else. It doesn't depend on my clothes. It doesn't depend on my friends. It doesn't depend on where I live even. It doesn't even depend on the language I speak or anything. And that was at first a terrifying thing. But when you get used to it, you realize that's kind of one of the most profound truths of being a human being. So that's a big answer.
Yeah.
But it's a really core question, understanding me and the book and just how I exist in the world, to be honest. Like literally before I got here, I've got a closet and I open it and there are John jackets and Antonio Michael jackets. like it's a walk-in closet with like two different lives there. But again, I never felt that was unnatural. I never felt it was because I was trying to hide. I just saw what I saw was that everybody was doing it. They just weren't intentional or didn't understand that they could change it for their benefit, or they do, because come on. And women understand this a lot, right? Like if you invite a woman to go to somewhere to a function, what's she going to ask you?
Yeah.
She's going to go, what kind of function is it? What's the decorative room? What's the vibe? Like, because she's trying to figure out, how do I present myself? And so it's very normal for us to be. So when I was in a punk rock band, I wasn't going to wear church boy sweaters. I was like, yo, I need a fucking army jacket with some patches on it and some art on it and some like stitch Fela Kuti's face into it. And I need a badass punk rock nickname. Like I was just dressing for the party. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
We were, my cousin had a birthday recently and he rented out this bar on Queen Street. Mm-hmm. And, my brother's asking me, my other cousin's asking me saying, what's the dress code?
Yeah.
What is this, a lounge? Is it a bar? I said, dude, I'm too old for this shit. I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt and I couldn't care less what the vibe is. I said, this is how I'm going.
Yeah.
One, because, you want to make sure you dress the part if that's of interest to you. But number two, I've been dressing for my home for the last 20 months, so I don't know what it's like to dress up anymore.
Right. And we never liked that shit anyway. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, man.
I think so.
But it's funny. I will say though, that I went into one of my clients' offices and I got dressed up for probably the first time in 18 months.
Yeah.
And it felt good. And you're right. It was like, it's like even when I speak at conferences, as soon as I step on stage, I'm a different persona that's bottling up all my energies and anxieties and going blah, right? As that persona. But it was nice to get dressed up and put on the nice shoes that I haven't put on in 18 months and go down to Liberty Village and meet my client. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did. I've done a sum total, this is going to shock you, of one single in-person book event. And I've done probably 200 book events since the Canadian launch and then the US launch of the books in the last 9-10 months. So, but only one was in person and it was just awkward. But I mean, it was also a kind of a celebration. Like when I played the first show, I played the Mixed TO Festival. And that was my first show in almost 18-20 months. And the audience, for them, it was the first time they were in a crowd of that many people. And it was awkward and messy, but also a huge celebration. Like it felt really good to be doing that. So
nice.
Yeah. So, hey, It took me a lot to learn that, actually, because I'm from the rock and roll school where it's kind of like pretension and dressing up is kind of like we tell ourselves that, oh no, I'm just going to be real. But I mean, really, if you look at the history of rock and roll, it doesn't, Mark Bolan was definitely spending some time getting ready. Everyone spent time getting ready. The whole 80s was getting ready. Kurt Cobain said, oh, I'm just going to wear this lumberjack shirt. And then 2 years later, they were selling it at department stores. His uncurated look was suddenly curated. So, I mean, we lie to ourselves, basically.
Well, I'm curious, John, about, you talked about being a black kid that didn't fit in. You introduce us to your grandmother early on. In the book and the impact that she had, and unconsciously or subconsciously taking in those songs and chants that she introduced you to, and then literally finding out, you literally talk about music in such a way that Hank Williams, David Bowie, Biggie Smalls all come together in one sentence. You talk about all of them.
Yeah.
Where did this, like, for me, where did this eclectic taste in music come from?
Yeah, but the thing about it, Karim, is I see it as one thing. I see it as one and the same.
Okay.
I think because I moved so much and because I just had a curious mind, I always wanted to know the things I didn't know, whereas most people were like, no, I'm a rocker. This is who I am. No, I listen to, hip hop, New York hip hop. I don't even listen to Houston hip hop, and that's who I am. I was the kid who always wanted to learn what I didn't know. Once I've done something, I didn't want to repeat it. I wanted to use what I learned to explore something else. And so for me, I got an opportunity to see patterns other people weren't seeing. You know what I mean? Right. Like, that's really what it is. So if you look at like for me, Biggie Smalls, to me, like, what, if you ask me what it is, right? If you ask me what it is, it's like, it's storytelling.
Okay.
It's storytelling, like, really with those people that you name. That's what I see. Like, if you take Hank Williams, right? Like, just take Hank Williams and be like, your cheating heart will make you weep. You'll cry and try to sleep, but sleep won't come the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you. Right? Like, right away, what do you got? You got an antagonist, you got a protagonist, you have a tension, you have a drama, you have like bitterness, you have like regret, you have longing, you have all of that in like 4 lines? And then Biggie said, has the rap about Arizona Ron from Tucson, right? And he says these 4 lines where he says, he's telling the story and he says, yeah, that's when Ron vanished, came back speaking Spanish, lavish habits, 2 rings, 40 carats. And my head is just going, well, where did Ron go? What did he do? Like, how did he make all that money? Why is he back? You know what I mean? And so that effect, I saw, because I came at all those worlds with an open mind, I could see that Biggie and Hank Williams was doing the same thing. They were telling a story. And to me, I started fixating on the story, not the mode of telling it. Because it's kind of like you can tell it in all these different modes, but what was important was the story you're telling, because that's what people responded to. And that's what actually moved you as an artist, but that's what moved the audience, is the story that you're telling them, like, or Iron Maiden talking about Alexander the Great, he died of fever in Babylon, and he's telling the story of how Alexander fought Darius, and I'm listening to this, and I'm like 12, and I'm like, yeah, he's doing that Biggie thing, and I'm like, so for me, and it's part of my thing. Like, I think pattern recognition is a fundamental skill that I have, but that's how I became so eclectic. What presents as being eclectic is actually me just seeing the same thing in all these different places. And so for me, I'm just doing the same thing over and over. Even moving between the book and the album, Saga Boy to Saga King, like, to me, they're continuations of the same story. I've just changed the medium. But to me, it's just like learning another language, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I find when, like, in listening to your music, the storytelling for sure, but it goes beyond that into the sound and the sonic, because I mean, the when I'm going through your repertoire, it's like the mix of the sound of the songs, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't one, not genre, but I mean, you mixed a whole bunch of different sounds into there, depending on the song, and it goes song by song by song, which I thought was fantastic. So.
But Greg, I would challenge that and say that sonics and sound is story.
Yeah,
right?
Fair enough.
Like B.B. King, I can tell. I just need to hear him, like, for half a bar, do that little vibrato thing, and I'm like, oh, that's B.B. King. And in that, there's all the hurt and all the tension of the blues, and so I just realized that the sonic, you can tell a story with the tones that you use and the rhythms that you use. That too is story.
The rhythms for sure.
So, yeah, absolutely. Like, I just I'm doing I'm playing a gig, a really special gig to me on Friday with a group called Manteca, who are like Canadian jazz greats. They backed up Leonard Cohen. They famously, they told me about this trick they played on Cohen where they pretended to not know any of his songs the first time they played together. And then as soon as they counted it off, they just nailed it. And they also told me about this time where Miles Davis opened for them in San Francisco. Who knew why that happened, right? Like, who knew? But Miles just was walking by and he just looked at them in their dressing room, didn't say a thing, just like sniffed at them like, you know who I am. You know who's opening for who. And he just walked up. And we're playing a song of mine called Olaroon. Olaroon is on Saga King. And I was sitting, I come in here 6 a.m. and I'm writing my novel, which is about African gods reincarnated in America. And I'm walking, waking up, and I'm walking and I'm thinking, and I just start singing this song, Olaroon. Olaroon, Olodumare is the Orisha of the sky in the West African pantheon. And I just start singing this song, and all I heard was just drums and voices. That's it. Drums and voices, and like a Greek chorus call and respond. I'm like, yeah, I feel it. And the chorus is like, yeah, I feel it. And the drum like, and it's like story and atmosphere. And essentially, I tell the story of my novel, which I'm yet to finish, in that song, right? And that's a perfect example how choosing tones and the tapestry and the drums and just the tone of the voices can tell a whole story. And that's what I'm interested in. That's the things that I love the most.
Sorry, John, hold on. You're writing another book right now as we speak?
Yeah, I mean, I've already written 2 children's books that are coming out next year.
Wow.
SAGA Boy is going to be a TV series soon, so I'm working on the pilot.
Congratulations.
The novel is, I'm always writing.
Can you tell us a bit about the TV show? Like, who picked it up? Are you allowed to say anything?
No, I am sworn. I might have already violated it right now. I'm gonna stop.
We don't want to get you in trouble.
If they ask for the money back, I'm like,
what money? these gold chains I'm wearing. What? There's no money.
But you think this stuff is cheap? You think this is cheap?
John,
yeah.
Go ahead. Finish up.
No, that's it. That's all I had to say. I cannot tell you more. But yeah, we are working on these things. So, but I'm always writing. Like, I feel like I journaled a lot. Like, if you read the book, you know I journal a lot. And if I get up in the morning and I don't write, I can tell the difference in the day I have. So,
oh wow,
totally. For me, it's like meditate, journal, exercise, first thing in the morning, write. Sit down and write. Like by 9 o'clock, I probably have written 1,000 words.
Are you just writing whatever comes out, or are you focused on something specific?
It depends. Journaling, that's just whatever comes. I try to be as unstructured as possible in that, and just let the spirits move. It could be anything. It could. Sometimes I just draw pictures. It could be philosophy. It could be, why am I still thinking about my ex from 2 years ago? It could be it could be a range of things. But I usually have a writing project that I'm doing, and just getting that done really sets me up for a good day. And so I'm always on that. And I'm always probably playing some music somewhere, like, during the course of the day, I'll, at least an hour, I'll spend some time singing or playing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Listen, my brother would kill me if I didn't ask you about this. Back in when he was in high school, I think last year of high school, he got all these hats made of his favorite band. Right. And, started selling them in his favorite band, probably to this day. Yeah. Although he's now jaded because they're fighting, is Oasis. And
it's Oasis. Oh, Oasis. Okay. Yeah.
Huge Oasis. And we had a chance to see. We actually saw them in concert up in Barrie.
Oh, yeah. What year was that?
I can't remember. 94, 95.
Yeah. Did they make it through the full set?
They did. Yeah, they opened up. They opened up for my favorite artist.
Yeah,
which is Neil Young. Neil Young.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Wow. So I think 94, 95, somewhere around there.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, it was a great show.
Neil Young is a very unrecognized, huge influence on Oasis sound. I think Neil Young is a very, like, a lot of those big open riffs are so very, very Neil Young. Yeah. And the tone of the lyrics, like, Noel has a very sort of mournful, almost sorrowful way of writing lyrics and of singing. Mm-hmm. And when Liam sings it, he puts the snarl in it, and so you don't notice as much. But if you just took it out and just heard the words and just the melody, it's like, it's a very Neil Young kind of reminiscent, always looking backwards, always reminiscing, always longing, for things that are past and can't be retrieved. It's very melancholy, to be honest. A lot of Oasis is, but we don't think like that because Liam's out there just spitting it. It's it.
That is true.
Yeah, so you wanted to ask an Oasis.
Tell me about touring with Liam and his band.
Yeah,
Oasis.
I got lots of stories about that. Yeah, Beady, I was like, so the Canadian connection, because people are always like, well, how do you end up in a Manchester band with a bunch of dudes who, like, how does that happen? So it starts in Hamilton, where
of course it does.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Manchester and Hamilton. It's like if
Twin
you go
cities.
into the Narnia cupboard and you open it, you go from open it in Manchester, you get to Hamilton, and vice versa, I think. So I'm in Hamilton, and my Junk House, which is very famous 90s Hamilton band.
We actually talked about Tom Wilson on the beginning of the show.
Oh, wow.
On our pre-show.
Yeah,
so anyway,
yeah, totally. And I mean, my Dan Aiken, their guitar player, he founded Catherine North Studios, and he was working with I don't know how he found out about us, but he was just like sent me a picture of the studio and was just like, it's not your buddy's basement studio, eh? And he was just like, I'm like, no, it's not. Why are you emailing me? And that was kind of like my first opportunity to be indoctrinated into the national level of Canadian rock bands or Canadian just music. And for 2 years, we made a record, and Dan, kind of rest in peace, who's passed away, unfortunately, he uploaded a lot of his music knowledge. So enter Gaz Whalen, the drummer from the infamous Happy Mondays, who are, 24-hour party people. If you've seen the music, the movie, they feature prominently, falsely accused of bankrupting Factory Records. And Gaz tells a lot of great stories about being in Barbados at Eddie Grant's studio, supposed to be recording the record, but things went a bit sideways. And and so Gaz has been touring the world since he was 17. His only job has been rock and roll drummer to the world, rock hero. And him and his wife, they moved to Toronto because they're trying to find they didn't want to be in England. They had 2 mixed race boys, and they were like, look, England's too racist, so let's go to Canada. Didn't like Toronto, thought it was bougie, moved out to Burlington and started recording in Hamilton and at Dan's studio. And one day the singer didn't show up. They sent him some money. They went to pick him up, and he didn't get off the plane. Apparently he had a drug habit and used the money on dope. And so they're sitting there going, well, where are we going to find a singer who does hip hop, but knows his rock and roll and can sing soul music? And Dan was like sitting there recording them on the very same servers he recorded us on. He's like, well, listen to this. And 14 Guinness later, and I'm the lead singer of this band. I'm the front man, which I freaking love because I used to like Manchester music was my shit. That was like, I loved I liked Radiohead, but I identified with Oasis because they were working class and they made up for what they didn't have in privilege with swagger and like, what's more hip hop than that? Again, seeing the connections, right? And I was just like, as a hip, growing up around rappers, my brothers are. I just recognized the attitude of working class kids who have nothing going for them, who are just like, I'm fucking having this anyway, right? And that was kind of my attitude and my bands at the time, and so we loved Oasis, and so. To say, like, we loved it. We used to everything they did. We loved it, and suddenly I was going on tour with them, and we played down on because Gaz is, as the Happy Mondays, like Liam and Noel grew up looking up to those guys, right? So those guys were like heroes to them, and so suddenly we're in this band. The band was called the Hippie Mafia. And we were like, and we were hot. We were hot. We were just hot. Like, it was weird. It was like all the weird sort of eclecticism that you talk about, that you, like you say, I pretty much knew the whole history of soul music. There was no rock and roll posturing I didn't know how to do. And there was no hip hop I didn't understand. So I instantly got a platform to bring all of that together, and I don't know, and to just swag, like, just I've always been comfortable with attention. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So the bigger the stage, the more comfortable I got, and it just felt lit. Like, so we're on tour with Beady on their first English Western Europe tour, and Liam is watching every single show from side of the stage. I'm walking off the stage, and the first guy to say something to me is Liam. He's literally sitting there going, "You're a fucking top front man, mate. You fucking love your fucking top geezer, mate." And I'm like, what the fuck is happening with my life right now? And in fact, I'll tell you, this is my best story of it. Like, first of all, Liam was incredibly gracious. Like, I was pretty much ready to fight him at some point from all the stories I grew up listening to. But he was just like, he's just a proper lad, man, a proper son of the stage, like proper. There was a brotherhood in how he carried himself. And you realize that was 20 years ago, right? From when I was touring with him. It was 20 years before. So, even he was like, it's like I'm me dad. It's like I've become who my dad is. I drop the kids off. I go to the pub. I come back home, so that's the Liam I got. And he was just so cool. So we are in Birmingham. And, the best part of that tour was that he hired a four-star restaurant to tour with us. So while we were sound checking, they would lay out a 5-course meal. And we would just, after sound check, we'd just go and eat. And I knew it was dope because I was falling asleep and we had just played Birmingham. And it was the most people I'd ever played for. And as I'm falling off to sleep, I was thinking about the honey glaze on the pork. The roast pork that they gave us. I was like, yeah, that was good. Wait a minute, nice show. And in that show in Birmingham, we were a weird choice because I was a black guy. I was rapping. We were funky, and then we had these big Britpop choruses, and it was like we were dope. But a lot of people, like famously, opening for Oasis is annoying because it doesn't matter how good you are. People will boo and they'll be like, Liam. The Liam bots, I call them. They all have the haircuts and so it's a tough crowd. But we actually were frequently winning them over. In Birmingham, I get on and it's going great. At first, people are shocked, but they're getting into it. They're bouncing. And suddenly I see like a cup go flying. And then I see another cup go flying. And then I turn and I get hit with like a beer. Somebody hit me with a beer. My bass player, who's another Caribbean Toronto dude, Fitz Divine, Dion Fitzgerald, amazing painter as well. Fitz takes his bass off and he's ready to jump in the crowd and pandemonium breaks out. We stopped the song. Liam suddenly appears next to me, snatches the mic and basically says, if you fuck with these guys, you fucking with me. And basically points out the guys who did it and gets security to throw them out and then hypes the crowd out and hands me the mic back. And I was like, I'm fucking having this, mate. And I was like, let's go. And that was and that was O2 Arena in Birmingham. And so that's the craziest story. But I mean, real gentleman, really brotherly. He went to his clothing line, Pretty Green. They had all these retail stores. He went to the store after the second show and brought maybe 100,000 pounds worth of clothes and just said, have at it. Don't wear it if you don't like it. You know what I mean? And just laced us with gear. I still have some of the gear, but that was the vibe on that tour. And for me, it was a huge thing because I was in Kitchener and people were just always looking at me. Like you can imagine me in Kitchener, right? Like I'm always pushing boundaries. I'm always trying to mash up and do different things. And Kitchener's a very homogenous town. And so there's always a struggle with me in Kitchener. And I was starting to lose confidence in myself. So then I did that tour and I was like, oh, it's not me. I'm kicking it with Johnny Marr. I'm kicking it with fucking like Stone Roses. I'm kicking it with I'm kicking it with like Andy Bell and Gem Archer. I'm like, whoa. And these guys are fucking treating me like I'm their equal. And so I'm like, yo, it's not me, it's Kitchener. So when I came back, I just packed my bag. I literally landed, I started packing, And within a month, I'd moved to Toronto because I was like, I'm not having that. So it put like a real fire in my tank, and probably I'm still riding that wind even now, I think.
Nice. Good for you. Good for you. It's funny. You talked about Liam side stage watching. It actually reminded me of, it was back about 5 years ago, I guess. And it was the 25th anniversary of Jane's Addiction, Rachel DeLow Habitual. And so my wife and I drove down to Cleveland because they weren't playing Toronto. And the show was opened, I think, by the Screaming Trees, and then Living Colour, and then Jane's Addiction. And to your point, or similar to Liam, Dave Navarro stood at the side of the stage the whole time in awe, watching Living Colour, just ripping.
Yeah, because if you're a guitar player and you get to watch Vernon Reid every night, you should probably do that.
You know what? I got goosebumps again here. Just before, when the Raptors were in the playoffs, I actually got to see Vernon Reid play at Hughes Room, and I sat at the front table at Hughes Room watching him rip it up with Aubrey Dale.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, I met him at the Afro Punk Festival back when the Afro Punk Festival in Brooklyn. It used to be very much about Black people playing punk music. Now it's just kind of alternative lifestyle Black people playing like soul music and hip hop. But back then, like, I met him, and Black Rock Coalition was part of that. And I met him at that festival at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. And it was like, I mean, for me, like, you know, people say about Smells Like Teen Spirit, you get the guitar riff and then the drums kick in. And by the time it drops, the world had changed. For me, that's Cult of Personality. That's the guitar riff and the drums kick in, and then the world had changed. And I watched the video, and I was like, yo, it melted my brain. And for me as a young kid, again, being that Black kid who was messing with rock music, it was validating, right? Because I could say, well, you know, we invented rock music, you know, look at Little Richard, but I didn't like Little Richard. That wasn't cool at that point. But suddenly it was like there was a contemporary band that was fire.
Ripping your head off.
Yeah, fire. And they were all Black.
Yeah.
And they were singing about those issues and just being real. And I was like, yeah, one of the best bands ever. One of my favorite bands ever.
Me too. My probably, with the Peppers, probably my equal favorite band ever. Certainly one of the biggest on my musical career.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you on that. Yeah. I mean, just they were all so killer, and the songs, and Corey Glover. Do you know, little known fact, Greg, you know Platoon, the movie?
Platoon. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know Corey Glover's in that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was shocked to see him in there, young Corey Glover. I'm like, yo, I'm glad you stopped your acting career to sing us a few.
Thankfully.
Nice. John, let's take a little break here. You wanna play us a tune?
Yeah, sure. Let me hold on. Give me a moment.
Yeah. What do you think what do you think you want to play?
I want to play a song called Soul of the City. I want to play it because I as I was telling that story about touring with Liam and Beady and how I came back and I packed up and I moved to Toronto. It was like, this was the first song I wrote when I landed there. And it was just, my girl at the time, we had moved together. We hadn't moved in together, but we both came to the city at the same time. And it was just about the opportunity, but also the pace, and also how tiring it was, and how like being in the subway, like at rush hour, I was just like, yo, this is terrifying. What the hell? Anyway, so I haven't played this song in a long time, but I'm gonna play it. We came to the city for $1 and a dream, lost in the crowd, in the hustle, in the scene, in my heart, in my bones, you and me was one team. Let's get to the source, I'm ready to believe. Yeah, we're living right here in the soul of the city. You know the work is hard and the money ain't easy. So people, raise your hand right up if you feel me. Yeah, now we're living right here in the soul of the city. Waking up 5:30 in the soul of the city. Sometimes waking next to you, it can feel so pretty. Sometimes there's no time, so I sing this ditty. I'm breathing in the dawn and it all comes to me. Are we living in the land of the free, home of the brave? If you sincere about getting it, there's so many ways to get laid, paid, faded, traded, quiet summer nights for tired winter days. Devil at the crossroad paid him in spades. Grandmama tossing her grave. Look at all this good money from these bad ways. Look at all this good money from these badass ways. Looking right here in the soul of the city. Work is hard and the money ain't easy. So raise your hand right up if you feel me. You know we're living right here on the soul of the city. Hey. Are we on this lonely mission for a ribbon in the sky? We used to talk about beaches in the Caribbean, night through the memory to Hennessy. Somebody tell me why. All these lonely people, you the apple of my eye, you the sun in my days, the one that I crave. Remember when we used to drink rum in the shade, and I miss us. We got so many issues. I'd rather be lost with you than found with another missus. Yeah, we came to the city with $1 and a dream. Lost in the crowd, in the hustle, in the scene. In my heart, in my bones, you and me was one team. Back to the start, I'm ready to believe. Yeah, living right here in the soul of the city. You know the work is hard and the money ain't easy. Oh, baby, raise your hand right up if you feel me. Oh, living right here. So I feel like normally I'd be like, I have a trombone solo, but I ain't got a trombone. Yeah, somebody got a trombone? I got welcome to the music.
Awesome.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I knew you needed a trombone, my son plays the trombone.
Oh, word?
Yeah. So, but next time I'll prep it.
When we get together in person at Radical Road Brewery on Queen East, where we normally get together with everybody outside of COVID times, we record there, and we often ask our guests to play a few songs for the crowd. So hopefully we can do that. We get Cashmere to play trombone for you.
Yeah,
let's do that again. Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
Let's get the boys gigging. Let's get
absolutely. So, John, one of the topics, or one of the segments that we'd like to do, and we chop it up into Anyway, one of the segments that we like to do is around lost venues. This is actually, you know what the funny thing is? I'm totally blowing this because this is usually his, and he just put to me in chat to go, okay, you do lost venues. I'm like, all right, okay. So he's throwing me under the bus here. Anyway, so we like to ask our guests about a lost venue, a place that, you know, you played, it meant something to you. It was a wow experience. It could have been a really shitty experience. We've had some people bring that up as well. So can you share a venue that's no longer with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, there's only one venue where every single band I've ever played in, like serious band, has played that venue. And that's the Starlight Lounge, rest in peace, in Waterloo. So the owners, Josh and Bernie, like they were always around on the scene. If you do live music in Kitchener-Waterloo, you know those guys. And that was always the place you wanted to play. And then over the years, they just became like a super supporter, like so many great moments. Like I said, every band, from my first blues rock band, Gen Militia, my punk rock band, my soul music band. I launched my first novel there. I played with Danny Michel there, folk singer Danny Michel. I played in his band there. The J.O. band has played there. In fact, we were scheduled to play there April 1st, 2020, and the lockdown happened right before that was supposed to go down. And so we canceled that show. And it went under like probably 6 months after that. So yeah, shout out to that venue because really there's few venues where it's like every single time I had a thing, it went down there in so many ways, and so many other events that I had never, that weren't my band shows, but they were other band shows, or we were invited in to do something, my book launch. A guy named Jason Snyder wrote a book called 3,000 Miles about these kids who had a suicide pact after Kurt Cobain committed suicide. So we had a show where all the local bands played Nirvana songs, and nobody had seen my band, and they put us on first. And we just we were hot to trot. And it was like a coming out party for my band, because no one had really, you know, the bands are always gigging on the same night. So you hear about bands, but you never see them. Yeah. But that night we were all there, and we just we stole the show. Jason himself said that. He said, like, I talked to him like a couple of years ago. He was like, man, you guys set the bar for that. And, so many great moments there, but unfortunately it's like, you know, it's university town, and live music is not in favor right now.
No, don't we have Jason coming up as a guest to talk about Jason 1991? Snyder, really? I think so. Talk about 1991.
We do. In December.
If I've totally blown this, I'm going to completely edit it out in post. But I think December. No, I'm sure we do. Yeah.
Snyder, yeah. JSM, Jason Snyder Media is his company.
That's right. Yeah, he's coming on.
We're going to talk about the influence in 1991.
Yeah,
him and Michael Barkley.
Yeah. So Jason Snyder, while we're on that subject, he's also written about almost every art project I've done since the 90s. Oh. Every band, both my books, every album. Like anytime I've had something to promote, Jason has written about it.
Wow.
So that's it. Awesome. There you go. You got some trivia. Not as far back as 91, but you can throw that in. He'll definitely rep. He's a great person to ask about how weird it was for me being a Black kid doing music in Kitchener. Because he saw it from the outside, right? Like I was just kind of like, I don't care. I'm just doing my thing. He can tell you sort of how people looked at me. And he was always really supportive. And he was one of the first guys who was like, yeah, man, Live in Color, Bad Brains. Yeah, man, I get it. Like, keep doing what you're doing. And he was like there was only a couple people like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, shout out to the Starlight Social Club. John, that song was also amazing. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for playing. And thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, we want people to listen to your music. We want people to pick up your book. Tell everybody, where can they go to get this stuff?
Yeah, so the SAGA King and SAGA Boy, first of all, I see them as the memoir SAGA Boy and the album SAGA King is like two halves of the same piece of art. The book is everywhere. Like, I mean, I was just in an Indigo at Eglinton and Young and just walked in, like any bookshop, like anywhere in the country, you can find it right now. So go on all the online places, you can find it. If you buy local, ask your local bookstore. They either have a copy or they can get one really quickly. So no issues there. It's on Penguin Random House. The album, same thing. It's online, like wherever you like to listen to music, go. Just look up John Orpheus, SAGA King, either one or both. And it's there. Really proud of it. Really proud of the music. And yeah, get at me on the social things. I have the Insta ting, the Twitter ting, the Face ting. I have the Snap ting. All the ting them.
Perfect.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Greg, Karim. Appreciate you guys, man.
Awesome.
And yeah, you guys can have me on to talk about other stuff other than stuff I'm doing, because I'm down to talk about all the things. So I'm just saying, I'm putting myself out there because it's a lot of fun.
Let's do it. Once we get back into the bar and recording live from there, let's get you back in. Let's have a chat.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it.
Perfect.
Blessings, guys. Take care.